In this video, we'll talk about the Landlord Reference, how to avoid a fake reference. Welcome to findgreattenants.com, all things tech and tenant, leveling up your real estate and investing business. I'm your host, Mackenzie Wilson. All the links and resources mentioned in this video can be found below in the description. Thank you to all my returning viewers, much appreciated. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. Please consider subscribing and dinging the bell for notifications. It helps the channel grow and gets you more valuable content. All right, let's get to it. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video, as all the content is geared to how to avoid getting the fake landlord reference. Absolutely critical to your success in real estate investing and landlording. Tip number 1, do a little research on the information provided to you on your rental application. The tenant should have provided a landlord name, phone number, and email. You should be able to use the same information and look in the local listings in your area for other existing rental ads. This is a quick and easy way from a Google search you can use to find out if there's any information on this landlord. If you're able to confirm some of these details on a third-party site like rental listings, it's a great sign you've got a legitimate reference. Pro tip number 2, when you're actually phoning the reference, the most important part about the phone call is actually how you structure the conversation. So with the phone call, here's your first tip. Start the conversation off not by introducing who you are, but by asking, do you have any available rentals? Do you have any current vacancies with your rentals? I'm calling about your rental property. You can use any of these open sentences to start the conversation, because if you've got someone who's posing as a fake reference and the conversation starts right off the bat talking about available rentals, which they have nothing to do with, you're gonna probably catch them off guard, catch them by surprise. And if you notice that little momentary pause in the phone and they go, what? Or they kind of stumble, there's your first red flag that you've got a fake reference. If they happen to make it through this, I've got a few more curveballs we can throw their way to get them off the game and really solidify whether you're talking to the right person, the landlord, or if you've got that fake reference. So tip number 2 here on the phone call. Likely if the tenant has malicious intent here and they've set you up for a fake landlord reference, they've probably cued their buddy who's doing the fake landlord reference to expect you as a caller. They might already give you your phone number. They might tell you it's a male, he's white, he's got this type of accent. Whatever those details might be, that information's probably already been passed on to the fake landlord reference to cue them to play the role when they get the call. So let's change that information. If you're male, get a female to do the calling for you. If you have an accent, find someone who doesn't have an accent. Find someone who speaks different from you. Call from a different phone number. All these things you can change up. Gives you better odds of catching the person telling the truth and catching them off guard so they can't think of a lie quickly on their feet. This next step is super important, and it's all about the details in the conversation and how you frame your questions. So instead of telling the person, hey, so Joe Smith moved in December 2019, you moved out in November 2020. Yeah, that sounds right. And the person responds on the phone. Don't ask your question that way. You're telling them the information and you're just leading them down a path to say yes, 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 yes. You don't want that. So what you want to do is ask open-ended questions about the details only the tenant and the previous landlord would know. So now we're talking about questions, the 5 W's and the H. What, where, who, why, when, and how. Frame your questions open-ended like this will set you up for so much more success, because now you're forcing the person instead of saying yes or no to actually describe their answer. And if they're lying, it's going to be a lot more challenging to provide the truth because they have to fabricate it on the spot. Asking these open-ended questions are a great part. Next is you don't want to be providing that information, as I mentioned previous. You don't want to be cueing the landlord reference. You want them to be able to answer the questions on their own accord with their own information, not what you've provided them. If you find this video useful, consider checking out my other tenant screen resources. I have a video up here on how to avoid a fake credit score. If you found that as useful, come down here and I've got another video on how to read a credit score. two great resources as you're going through the tenant screening process. Now, the fourth part to framing these questions that's absolutely critical, I keep saying the word critical a lot, but it really is in this entire process, is changing the facts on the information. So you're going to change the facts between the previous relationship of the tenant and the previous landlord. So what facts can you change? You can change the start and end date of the lease, how much the rent was, how much the deposit was, how the deposit was paid, how many renters are there, did they have pets, did they pay a pet deposit, was it an ongoing pet fee versus a pet deposit, was it non-refundable? There's some examples of the things you can ask questions about, and here are some examples of the questions. How was the rent paid? What year and month did you move in and out? How many roommates were on the lease? Did you have any independents living with you on the lease? How many parking spots are on the property? What is the address? And on that tail end of what is the address, try to get them to verify the postal code or zip code. Now, in most cases, if they're a larger landlord, they won't have this information memorized, but most smaller landlords will, because they might only have a couple properties. And even if they don't, you just kind of want to gauge the response and see how they're actually delivering that message. This is, again, going with your gut, and you can usually try to tell if someone's lying to you or telling the honest truth. What pets do they have again? And this question is great. You're already inferring that there's pets on the lease, when in fact, if there's none, you're setting them up to talk about any possible pet. So you're cueing someone who's providing a fake reference to talk about, yeah, they had a nice doggy, a nice pooch, when in fact they had no pets at all. It's another good question, another great question to ask. Did the rent go up? Did it go down? How were the utilities paid? Who paid for the utilities? How much were the utilities? Was the garage included in the rent? Did they pay for the garage? Did they rent out the garage? So that's a great summary of all the questions you can ask. Now let's get to the final pro tip and wrap up this video for you. What you can do in most jurisdictions are look at land titles. These are public records that show you who owns the property. Now, if you've got the address of the previous rental, you can actually go and look up these records, either for free or at a nominal cost. So where I'm located in Alberta, we use an online system called Spin2. I have no idea what it stands for, and it costs around $10 to pull title. And this is a great way to confirm the ownership on title, and if it's the same name matching the landlord. Now, this isn't always going to be a for sure thing, because over time people can sell properties by the time you go back and check the landlord reference. Or it could be a joint venture and have two people managing the property with one on title. So it's not always guaranteed, but it is another way to definitely verify you've got a real legitimate landlord. And if you get matching names from the application to title, then you definitely can be very confident you're dealing with a legitimate landlord reference. I really hope you enjoyed watching my video. I really had a lot of fun showing you these tips on how to avoid a fake landlord reference and understanding the landlord reference process. If you found this information video, like, subscribe, comment, and maybe I'd love to hear your pro tip on doing a landlord reference and what you look for that I haven't mentioned. I'm always looking to learn and improve my process, so help me out with one of your tips. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I'll see you guys again. Thank you.